Yep.
Oh God,
Yep.
Susar
Secundi?
Secundi.
Susur Secundi, Void Altar.
We love Sus Planet.
Yeah, this is Sus Planet. John, it's been too long since we've had spoilers, huh? You ready for another spoiler season?
It's hype season yet again, boys. Let's go.
That's right. We've had Final Fantasy for weeks at this point, which means it's time to start talking about the next set, which is Edge of Eternities. That is the space opera set. It's a vast sci-fi themed set of our beloved game Magic the Gathering, and we have lots of exciting things to talk about, things that have come from spoilers, from other channels, and from the debut stream from Magic themselves. So lots to talk about today, but before we get into all of that, I'm Joseph, one of your hosts here at the MTG Thoughtcast, and across the screen, or somewhere across your ears, is my brother, John. John, how you doing today, man?
In space, nobody can hear you mulligan to 4.
That's right. Oh, have you ever mulliganed to 4?
I have, yes.
I go 7-6-5 scoop. That's my rule.
Let's put that on the t-shirt.
Yeah, literally. Mull to 5, mull to next game, actually. Oh, man. Well, I hope you're excited to talk about some space today. Some lovely, lovely sci-fi. Before getting any further, elephant in the room, I'm a little sick. So if you hear the stuffiness in my voice or you see me lean away from the microphone, much like Chocolate Rain, it is to breathe or to cough. So just do me a favor and ignore that if any of it peeks through. But this is how committed I am to getting content to you folks. Speaking of content, if you want all of the goodness on all of our content, you can join our Discord. It's linked down below. We hang out there, we play games, we brew decks. It's a lovely time. We've been doing a lot of spoilers lately, especially with how much of this set has been leaked. So we've just been going crazy in the spoilers channel. So come and join us there. It's linked down below, totally free. We don't want your money for that. Today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends at Heavy Play. John, I see you're wearing your shirt today. Shout out to Heavy Play. They're our favorite manufacturers of gaming accessories like deck boxes, dice boxes, and playmats that are all magnetic and are modular and work together. They're absolutely awesome. We're huge fans of them. They're huge fans of us. It works out that way. If you want 10% off of your order with them, you can use code MTG Thoughtcast at checkout or go to heavyplay.com/MTG Thoughtcast. That's for 10% off of your order. Should we get into today's episode, John? Do you want to talk to us about Edge of Eternities?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, indeed. We are here coming up on approaching our brand new standard product release, the Back to Magic world. I hope you had fun in your JRPG land. We're now in the cosmos. Oh, right. Baby. This is science fiction, fantasy, alien worlds, spacecrafts, and interstellar travel and all that jazz. It's just like, this is cool. This was the set this year that I have like one of the most hype anticipations behind, at least as far as like in-universe set, I suppose, is concerned. You know, we're still going to be having Spider-Man and Avatar later this year as well, but
yeah, you're eating good this year.
I'm eating good this year. And so out the gate, like I enjoy these sort of like science fiction fantasy sort of things. Like I'm not the biggest fan of like what like pop culture would call like the big outliers as far as like science fiction is concerned,
Star
right?
Trek.
Star Wars, yeah. Like I wouldn't call myself the hugest fan of those. I just kind of like unironically, I like the atmosphere of what like outer space worlds have to offer. You know what I mean?
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, that was the joke, you see.
Right.
So Magic going out into the cosmos and having the weird, the strange, the ethereal, but then also like cosmic star backgrounds, planetary backdrops, interstellar travel. Just if you are a fan of the aesthetics that a set is able to provide, this set is going to have it in abundance. And we've also got a plethora of really, really cool cards and themes and new mechanics and things of that nature that this world's, I guess, because it's kind of like a overlay. It's not one particular plane, you know what I mean? It's a whole bunch of different little cosmic
in between the planes, right? This is the blind eternities.
Outside of it, I think, is actually the way that they described it in design. Yeah. Cosmos is like an onion.
Yes,
We've got
100%.
the layers.
This feels a bit like Unfinity, but for real this time, which you've gone on record as maybe the largest Unfinity enjoyer that there is of the dozens of you.
I'm a huge fan of Unfinity.
Yeah. So it makes sense that you like the aesthetics of this because they're bringing back a lot of stuff from Unfinity, like the Galaxy foils, which was debuted there and is now happening in a Black Border set. A non-Acorn set.
Yeah, Galaxy foils and like the extended lands sort of thing with like the big like planetary and outer space like artwork and treatments and things on that. And we're going to be diving into all of that. So where we want to start with then is let's get started with the new mechanics that are going to be coming alongside with this set, because that is obviously a big contributing factor to like what the set is going to be all about. So you think outer space, you think sci-fi, you think everything that involves in that genre thing. One of the very first things that you'll think of, aside from it being out there into the vast unknown, is the types of travel that people and characters and beings, races, whatever, how they get around, how they do the thing, right? Some of the most iconic things of sci-fi is the interstellar vehicles.
Ships.
How they get from place to place. The Millennium Falcon is one of the most iconic spaceships of all time for a reason, it's the spacecraft.
Yes.
And that's what we have.
Before we start talking about mechanics, I think it's important to note that we are talking about the standard booster pack sets today and not the commander products.
We'll be getting to that next week.
That's right. Which there's only 2 precons this time around. Oh my God, they've made our lives so easy.
Hooray!
Those will be very fun and very exciting to talk about. But today's is just purely talking about the main sets, mechanics, and release.
So, if you watched a few weeks back or listened a few weeks back, we did briefly touch on like what Spacecraft was going to be as a whole when we talked about the rules change of legendary vehicles and spacecrafts being available as your commander. If you didn't watch that video, check it out right here. It'll give you a full example of you being able to play legendary spacecrafts as your commanders now. So now we have an actual selection of ones that they have been previewed in this set. Spacecrafts are in a similar vein to vehicles, where they are artifacts. They don't start as creatures, and then once you meet a particular condition on the card itself, in the case of these here, they have activated abilities on them called Station, that at certain variables, they turn themselves online as creatures. And very cool, kind of some of the other ones that we have seen is that they actually have more abilities tacked onto them other than just the one charge counter requirement that's required of it. So like example, I'm looking at the card here, Dawnsire Sunstar Dreadnought.
That's the one I wanted to talk about as well.
Yeah, 5 generic mana for a spacecraft. It has Station. Station, as a reminder, is tapping another creature you control. Put charge counters equal to its power on this spacecraft. Station only as a sorcery, and then it turns itself online as an artifact creature when it has 20 or more. But
that is a hefty requirement.
Hefty. But this one's kind of cool, though, because you get another ability added onto the card when you hit 10. So once it has 10 charge counters on it, you static just get this artifact sitting here that says, whenever you attack, Dawnsire deals 100 damage to up to one target creature or planeswalker.
Good gravy. That's a lot of damage.
If you never finish turning this online as a spacecraft, you just have this. You have a 5 mana artifact that with 10 charge counter on it gives you just that static of any time you attack. You don't have to attack with this at all.
This is true. Let's sit with this for a second and talk about how this plays out. Because obviously the comparison can be drawn to vehicles because it's an artifact and you kind of crew it after over a period of time. But I think that the correct comparison is a lot closer to battles because you're required to tap your creatures to station this at sorcery speed rather than attack with them. And then it takes some amount of like tapping your creatures to bring this online. So like at face value, are you like into this? Because it does nothing on its own. It is which I know you're into. 5-mana artifacts does nothing when it comes in. That's like your favorite cards. But do you feel like these are going to be strong? Like I'm finding myself having a lot of trouble wanting to be like on board with these spacecrafts just because of how hefty the requirement is.
It's tough, and you make a good point with bringing up as far as like battles are concerned, because like even when you're like, let's even talk about battles, is like even if you're incorporating in the things that allow you to kind of bypass the creature restriction, right? For the sake of battles, they were things that could be targeted with things like burn spells and stuff like that. In the case of these spacecrafts, they are permanents that you have the ability to add charge counters onto them through other means. So even if you're playing with the shenanigans that allow you to kind of increase that the speed on how you could turn these online as creatures, like that's extra cards you got to incorporate into your build to build around this concept. So
yes,
like I think it's going to be you need to go all in. If you want spacecrafts in your deck, you probably need to have most of your deck comprised in such a way that you are okay with that cost of either having creatures tapped into this all the time or extra pieces that you've built around into this to get the charge counters up faster.
Yes. Did you see Systems Override, which got previewed very shortly before we started recording this episode?
As I say, at time of recording, I believe it got spoiled today. Yeah, I did see that. The Active Treason, I think, right?
Threat and effect plus set mechanic. So this was 3 mana for a sorcery, gain control of target artifact or a creature. It's red, by the way. Until end of turn. Untap that permanent. It gains haste until end of turn. If it's a spacecraft, put 10 charge counters on it. If you do, remove 10 charge counters from it at the beginning of the next end step. So they're obviously kind of handing us some ways to station these faster than actually just doing it fairly. So I think that those will be very powerful in the decks that want these spacecrafts. But like, I just can't really see myself running these because they're not vehicles. That's a really important denotation where like vehicles just have all their stats sitting there ready to go. So if you can like animate them with like Black Staff of the Waterdeep or something like that that just permanently turns a non-creature artifact into a creature artifact, you get all those abilities. The way that Station works is it has to have that many charge counters on it. So these just go from being vanilla do nothing artifacts to being like vanilla artifact creatures if you animate them any other way. So like they really have put a ton of safety valves on these to make sure that like they are very powerful, because we haven't even really talked about the fact that like it's a 20/20 with flying if you can put 20 charge counters on it. That's massive. But think about how long it's going to take and how many turns off of attacking with those creatures that you're going to need to get this to put 20 +1/+1 counters on it. Obviously, this becomes really strong with like doubling season or anything that like puts extra counters or proliferate or, you know, whatever is going to bring those up to its charge counter requirement. Granted, Dawnspire has one of the highest ones that we've seen at 20. Most of them are sitting somewhere between 10 and 15 to become creatures and be able to attack. 20 is exceptional, but also, you know, it's massive. It's a strange mechanic. I'll tell you that. Really hard for me to evaluate it on first read.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how these play out as a whole. Like, I think these are cool as late game cards, I suppose, where you try to get you get them down decently early, put a little bit of charge counter stuff into it, and then like in the sake of like talk about like Commander or whatever, right? Like at your end step, if you've got like some utility creature that you weren't gonna be swinging with anyway, just dump it into this.
Exactly.
And then after the inevitable wrath that happens, you start rebuilding a little bit, and then Dawnsire's just ready to go right after a wrath happens, you know? So that's brutal. That's a thing you could do.
Particularly strong with like vigilance too. While we're on the topic of Station, it's on other things that aren't just spacecrafts. There is a mythic cycle of mono-colored lands that are the planets. So these are lands that all enter tap and tap for their respective color, and then have station, just like the spacecrafts do. So you tap your creatures at sorcery speed to put, charge counters equal to power onto it. And then they all have I'm pretty sure they're all at 12 plus charge counters to then have an additional ability on top of it. I think that this is a particularly bad mythic cycle. We can talk about some of the other ones. The one I really want to talk about is Uthros, Titanic God Core, and you'll understand why I want to talk about this one. So it obviously comes in taps for blue, has station. At 12 plus, you can pay a blue and tap it to add a blue for each artifact you control. So it's like another Tolarian Academy that has some pretty massive requirement. But I think this one's particularly good because artifacts already have synergies with charge counters. Like, there's already ways to manipulate those in artifacts. So this is going to be the staple one in blue artifact decks, particularly in mono blue, where you don't care about having a land come in tapped. But yeah, I'm curious if there's any that you're looking at, because I genuinely think this is one of the worst mythic cycles that we've seen in a long time, because they're monocolored lands that come in tapped, and then require you to take multiple turns off before you get your activated ability that, I think the green one's also good because it's similar to Uthros, but it's Gaia's Cradle instead of Tolarian Academy. But the rest of them are very strange.
Yeah, they'll just never give us another white version like the enchantments one. Why do we hate Sarah's Sanctum so much, Wizards? Come on.
We've gotten so many versions of Tolarian Academy and Gaia's Cradle, but we have not gotten a single Sarah's Sanctum alternative.
Rubbish. Anyways, no, I mean, I do understand your points when you're coming up this. Do I call this the worst mythic cycle? I'm gonna say no, only just because of hear me out. This is not me defending that they're good. I do still think that they are slow and dirtily and probably not worth it. Yes, technically. But in the same vein as with the spacecrafts, that these get exponentially better as the game moves on. Because one thing we didn't mention about as far as the actual station ability that these kinds of cards have is that they work in a similar way that you can do with crew or convoke or improvise, as the creatures do not need to have haste to be able to dump right into it. So
this is correct.
You can use creatures with summoning sickness into station, and that gives them purpose as you are casting them. And we're about to talk about warp in just a little bit as well, but what an incredible way to use a creature that can't go to combat to throw into abilities like these ones that are here. And you were asking about ones that I like the black one that's here, the Susar oh God.
Secundi? Secundi. Void Altar.
We love Sus Planet.
Yeah, this is Sus Planet.
This one is cool. It has the station, still comes in tapped, makes black, 12 charge counters, gains an activated ability as a sorcery speed for 1 and a black, tap and paying 2 life, and sacrificing a creature, drawing cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power. That's cool. People still use high market and stuff in some of their decks, and being able to draw cards unrestricted as far as the overall, you got to pay 2 life, but as long as the thing you're sacrificing is greater than that, then you get a decent amount of card value out of any creature that probably would already be dying during your turn anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm still not claiming that these are incredible. I don't think they are, but I'd say maybe if you're monocolor and don't necessarily playing around haste, these are probably fine to include in your deck anyway.
Yeah. Let's talk about the red one, which I think is the worst of them.
This one is bad. This one's very bad.
Just to give you an idea of how bad this is. So this is red is known for wanting to be fast. If there's a color that doesn't want a tapped land, it's red. It enters tapped, as the other ones do. Taps for red, has the station. At 12 plus, you can pay 1 in a red and tap it. So functionally 3 mana. Sacrifice a land, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Then creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until the end of turn. So sure, But this is way worse than like the red castle that just like or whatever castle whatever that you can pay 3 and tap it and all of your creatures get 1/0 haste. You don't have to sacrifice the land. You don't have to take multiple turns off with the charge counters. You don't have to like pay 3 mana, including itself.
Hey, it can sacrifice itself to its own ability if you really want it.
Maybe the best thing that it can do.
Put the 12 counters into it.
Yeah, mark me down as a hater of the planet cycle. They really had this hyped up as like, oh my god, there's a mythic monocolored land cycle, which we've not had since Battle for Zendikar with the modal dual-faced ones. Like the bolt lands on the one side, and then which all of those are really good. These ones are like, there's a few of them that I could see. I guess while we're talking about it, let's talk about the white one as well, just so we can talk about all of them in the cycle. Because this one's neat, at least. So this is Adagia, Windswept Bastion. It's a planet. It enters tapped, taps for white, has station, and then its ability at 12 plus counters is 3 and a white and tap it. Create a token to copy of target artifact or enchantment you control. Except it's legendary. Activate only as a sorcery. It just keeps getting worse the more you read it. It starts out so cool, and then by the end you're like, could they have not just taken off the activate only as a sorcery?
My problem with that ability is the fact that the token it makes is legendary, meaning you can't keep making copies of the same thing you want to.
Right. It already costs 5 mana to do it, because when I say 5 mana, I mean you have to tapping this itself land in order to do it, meaning it shorts you a mana for the turn. So it costs 5 mana at sorcery speed to make a copy of an artifact or an enchantment. You can't copy a creature with this unless it's an enchantment creature or an artifact creature. But for the most part, it's just gonna get like an Oblivion Ring. Like what are you gonna be doing with this? I'm sure there's cool things to do, like copying a doubling season, but at that point you've won the game already. Like there's so many things that are held back by this also being a sorcery. Like you can't use it as protection. Like, I'd want to use this as like, oh, you're targeting my thing. I'm just going to like tap this, make a copy of it. Now it's a protection spell on a land. That would have been good. But again, they've just like completely hampered this cycle. Maybe it played really well, like in playtesting, and they tried to like pull it back before the set comes out. But man, I cannot get behind these. Not at Mythic. These would have been fine at Rare.
The stupid thing probably is going to be just because Mythic land, these probably will still end up being some of the like chase cards of the set, I'd imagine. But who knows? We don't know how that kind of thing works.
I think they're going to be $1 or less each. Maybe I'll be wrong about that. I'll eat my words on that one. But
all right, when somebody has the finances on that, warp back to this episode and tell us how we're wrong.
Absolutely. I was going to say, how are we crewing or how are we stationing faster than we should be able to? And it's the next ability that is new in this set, the next mechanic that's new, and that's warp. So warp is a mechanic that's sort of a combination of evoke and adventure. Where warp is you may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost, which is as far as we've seen all cheaper than mana value. Exile this creature at the beginning of or the next end step, then you may cast it from exile later on, not for its warp cost, because warp is only from hand. As an example, let's talk about Anti-Causal Vestige.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
This is our Eldrazi in the set, which might be our only one. It is
Not sure
an Eldrazi. So it's 6 generic mana for an Eldrazi. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. It's also a 7/5. So when we're talking about station being good with warp, this is like you can play it for 4 for its warp 4 cost. It comes in on turn 4. You can immediately station something for 7, which is halfway there for most of them. And then on the end step, it gets exiled, it has the leaves the battlefield trigger. You get to do the thing, and then on like turn 6 or whenever, you get to recast this again for its mana value, and then it stays in play that time. So Warp is a very strong mechanic. As we've seen, Evoke is a very strong mechanic, and Adventure is a very strong mechanic, and this is a blending of the two of them. Let's talk about Bygone Colossus as well, since we're just talking about like,
Oh, okay.
oh my god, like warp things. So this is a 9 generic mana robot giant. It's an artifact creature. It's a 9/9, but it has warp 3. So this can come in on turn 3. It's a 9/9. You get to do whatever you want with it. It also has mana value 9. And then it exiles itself on the end step to be cast later on for its 9 mana value. During the debut stream, they referred to they said that when designing this card, all through playtesting, they just called this Combo Golem because that's all it's here to do. Because unless you can give it haste on turn 3, like if you have something like a Concordant Crossroads down or Mass Hysteria or whatever is going to be giving all of your creatures haste, this is not able to attack.
No.
So this just comes in, is a 9/9. You can abuse it, and then it leaves.
No, I love it. And then, yeah, like you were describing as like Warp is like a combo of Evoke. All of those same like degeneracy tricks that you're able to do with cards like Evoke. These? Yeah, you get them down for their cheaper cost. You blink them out. You cancel the trigger to exile them at the end. By the way, like you could definitely do that. You know,
stifling boy.
Stifling, food chain is incredibly popular in Commander. You could like warp some big boys down, feed them into the food chain, cast something else. You know what I mean?
This is true.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up Exalted Sunborn. It's 3 and double white for a 4/5 angel wizard. His flying, lifelink. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead, and then it warps for 1 and a white.
Yeah, there's like a whole cycle of these, but that one is particularly good. That's kind of our like, we've gotten a token doubler this set, which seems like we get that all the time. There's also in the same cycle of that is Starfield Vocalist, which is 3 and a blue for a 3/4 with warp, 1 and a blue if it's Panharmonicon. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So these are neat because you can play them super early, and then you can do your stuff with them. They leave, and then you get them again later. What were you about to actually me?
that Starfield Vocalist is actually Yarok and not Panharmonicon. Panharmonicon is specifically creatures and artifacts, where Yarok is all permanents.
Thank you, Oracle.
As a Yarok player, get good.
Does that go in Yarok?
I don't know. Maybe it does the double up trigger things like Yarok wants to do, but it doesn't do anything itself. So probably not. To be honest,
you could like Blood for Bones this, like warp it down for 2, Blood for Bones, bring it back to the battlefield.
I guess, yeah, that is something you could do.
Things to be done with it.
So after doing a permanent with warp, you then end up having these non-land permanents leave the battlefield. And what kind of mechanic wants to care about that? Our other new mechanic in here, Void.
New Morbid.
Yeah, we've got Void appearing on both permanent and non-permanent spells. That the specific wording is at the beginning or at particular points when the Void wants to like check or whatever. If you have a non-land permanent having left the battlefield this turn, or a spell was warped, the trigger for Void kind of checks. And again, it's like Morbid. It can check at different varieties depending on if the card is like a permanent or a non-permanent spell, like a sorcery or something to that degree. So like as an example, I've got Elegy Acolyte. For 2 and double black, it's a 4/4 human cleric with lifelink. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose 1 life. And then Void. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell was warped this turn, you create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token.
Yeah, I do like that they realized that, like, Morbid is broken because of fetch lands, so they tied this to non-land permanents. That's a really important thing to note. You can't just evolving.
Sorry, have we been saying Morbid? I mean Revolt. Revolt is the mechanic, not Morbid.
Oh, Yeah, I guess that's right.
Morbid is the death triggers one.
You're right.
It's revolt that it's closer to.
Yeah,
My mistake.
which revolt was pretty close anyway. So anyway, yeah, it's tied to non-land permanents, and it's also I like that they realized that they wanted it to play with warp, but it plays badly because warp leaves on the end step. So they were just like, we're just gonna throw if something warped this turn as well. Like warp counts for void as well. Very sick. Yeah, I think that Elegy Acolyte is a really, really good card to have. Even just that initial trigger of like, we've seen this before plenty of times, of the when one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player in a 4-player game of Commander means that that's a max of 3 times that's going to trigger per turn, because it counts for each individual player that's being attacked. So like your Elegy Acolyte is going to be able to draw you 3 cards a turn and lose 3 life, which is very strong in Commander.
It's cool that the card itself also has lifelink. So like if this is one of the cards going into combat for you, like you say, you hit 3 opponents, that's going to be a trigger to draw 3, lose 3, but then this thing is gaining you 4. So it kind of net positive.
Net positive 1 life and 3 cards. That's strong.
Really
and then the void actually works really well with going to combat as well, because if your creatures die in combat instead of hitting someone, then you just get that void trigger instead, and you get to make a new token for those.
Note, by the way, this also works on your opponents as well. Void says that if a non-land permanent has left the battlefield, not your battlefield. So
that's where it kind of becomes like Morbid, because Morbid only cared about a creature dying. Including your opponent's stuff. So it's pretty similar. I think the Morbid comparison that I'm drawing is with Tragic Trajectory, which is a single black mana for a sorcery. Target creature gets -2/-2 until the end of turn. Void, that creature gets -10/-10 until end of turn instead if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped. So it's like Tragic Slip, but with the void mechanic on it. So that's kind of where the comparison is being drawn for me.
That's cool, and I didn't see that one.
Really good. I mean, sorcery speed kind of kills it for me, but it's a cool mechanic. It's a cool design.
Second main phase, to space with you, sir.
Absolutely. Gone.
Oh, but do you need a guarantee way to make sure you have a non-land permanent leave the battlefield? Well, let's talk about the brand new artifact token that is a thing that you can have leave the battlefield for your void triggers. It's Lander tokens.
What a strange name, but I'm here for it.
Yes,
tell me about
sir.
Landers,
as our local Togo Rocks friend, I know you're probably a huge fan of these.
I am. I'm still waiting to see a card spoiled with the Lander tokens that I want to put into Togo Casket, but my goodness, would it be perfect.
So we have a new artifact token that is created on a variety of spells, both permanents and non-permanent spells. They are called Landers. They are artifact tokens with a 2 mana and tap sacrifice ability to search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. It is identical to what a Wayfarer's Bauble is. So we've got Wayfarer's Bauble on a token now, which is super neat. I like this.
I love that.
Example card I wanted to bring up is a Biotech Specialist.
Okay.
It's a red-green for a 1/3 insect scientist that when it enters, you make a Lander token, and then whenever you sacrifice an artifact, this creature deals 2 damage to target opponent.
Super cool. Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah. You just ramp, right? Like they said that this mechanic kind of comes from the idea of like the outer space part of this is like, it's exploring vast new planets and exploring the lands and things like that nature. So the like Lander pods, like the scout pods, to like go and claim new territory out on the planets.
Yeah, right. It's like a moon lander.
Exactly. Yes, to go.
I understand.
Discover the new lands.
You guys are watching in real time that the name for it clicked for me.
I think these are neat. I know you are the artifact token enjoyer around here. Yeah. What do you think of Landers?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, this is super, super good. I mean, I play Wayfarer's Bauble a ton, and I also, we've talked about my Togo Casket deck a lot, which is both sacrificing tokens, artifact tokens specifically, and landfall. So, like, if they manage to print some red or black Lander tokens, which they've already said is in all 5 colors, which is great because that just adds new ramp options into the entirety of the color spectrum. There's also like a really neat design. I think this is the only card that gives your opponent a lander token.
The
You see
emergency eject.
emergency eject.
I like this.
Me too, man. I might start playing this over Stroke of Midnight. So it's 2 and a white for an instant. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a lander token. I think that there's way less that an opponent can do with a Wayfarer's Bauble than with a 1/1 token. So I'm particularly fond of Emergency Eject, and I'll be looking to pick up a few of those for my decks. But yeah,
I like that card on the opposite spectrum of it, because like imagine you're sitting in a multiplayer game, you've got that one person at the table, usually me, who says, "Oh man, if I only had one more land to go about." Bam. How about a piece that says, "Hey,
Monkey's
let
paw.
me hit your token for you, and I'll exchange. You get this lander token that you now get your basic land to jump back in the game."
Yeah, it's nice that they didn't tie the lander tokens to sorcery speed as well, because that seems like something they like doing lately. It's just so if you give someone a lander token and they have 2 mana open, they can just crack it and just go get their land. Super, super nice.
No, I do like these. Yeah, as a new like named token artifact that can be used for all the artifact things that you can think of. The the off-turn landfall, I think, is what's going to be a huge hit with these lander token things, because like
because that's a returning mechanic in this set.
Correct. Yeah. Outside of green, it's hard to have lands coming in consistently during the off turn. So if you've got any kind of strategy that cares about something like that, these are cool. These are really, really nice. Again, the same kind of things that you can do as Wayfarer's Bauble, just sometimes on repeat. In the case of like the specialist that I was talking about here, you just blink him. That's lander tokens on repeat.
For sure. Yes, I like lander tokens quite a lot. Really, really big fan of them. That's kind of all of our new mechanics for the set, isn't it?
Yep, I believe that is everything as far as the new mechanics from the set. The only real like interesting thing to talk about that's going to be available as part of this set is this sort of like not consistently openable bonus sheet that they have, which is a variety of lands that they're calling the Stellar Sights lands card. These are you can open these sometimes in play boosters and collector boosters and things like that. So it's like bonus, like what they did with the Final Fantasy thing, where it's like it's a bonus sheet, but you're not guaranteed one in every pack.
Yes. It's also similar to Final Fantasy in that there's a couple different variations of them. There's like the ones that are like star charts, and then there's ones that are based off of like old travel posters.
Yes. The poster ones are collector booster exclusive, but the other ones with the terrible font in the name is in play boosters only.
I'm gonna fight you on that one. I think it looks good.
Oh, you like the font?
I think that anything that's not the invocations, as far as like special cards go, I think that they could have done the entire card this way. And I think that they showed massive restraint in only doing the land title. But I think it's fine. It's legible. It's not like I'm not writing home about it, but I like it.
Yeah. You got any particular favorites that they've shown so far?
Yeah, the two that I've really honed in on that I'm excited to be reprinted are Gemstone Caverns is one of them. That seems to be the most chase of them. Do they have a rarity symbol on them? Like, is it just the different ships?
They do actually. Like, the symbol itself is not actually there, but if you look down in the collector info for the cards, which is always on all cards, in the bottom left, there's a little letter symbol, and something like Gemstone Caverns and Mana Confluence are mythic.
Yes.
Big sad. Why do you wizards, you hate making City of Brass cards at rare again?
We just got Starting Town.
Yeah, but like
rare.
Why do they keep doing Confluence at Mythic? Like, come on, guys.
It's such a good card. There's also an Eldrazi Temple reprint. This is first time to Arena as well.
There's a lot of these first time coming to Arena.
Definitely, which I'm really grateful for. This is a really nice set to have as like an Arena pack where you can craft these now, which is super nice. But yeah, Eldrazi Temple and Gemstone Caverns are the two that I'm most excited about. They all look gorgeous too. Like, I really like this frame. I like these arts.
There's a really nice Thespian stage that's here as well.
Yeah.
Looks really,
it's really interesting. Cool. We're getting Thespian stage, but not Dark Depths, because they've noted no legendary or named lands are going to be a part of it. So there's none of the Urza's cycles. We're not getting Urza's Saga, like no Tower Mine Power Plant, not getting Urza's Saga, and also not getting Dark Depths because they're legendary lands.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Womp womp. Speaking of
One day.
lands being reprinted into the set, we have shock lands at rare. Just in the
Hooray!
booster packs. Thank
Yep.
God. This puts them back in standard, and this gives us a meaningful reprint of shock lands. Guys, don't miss them again. Like, pick these up. They will go sub $10 again, and you should pick up as many as you can because they will go back up to 20. This is how Shocklands work. The regular prints of them are going to be cheap. And then, as we get into all of the different alternate
Variations and things like that.
Exactly. What's interesting is this is an asymmetric cycle of Shocklands.
Yes.
This is not all enemies. It's not all allies. We have Breeding Pool, which is green-blue, Godless Shrine, which is white-black, Sacred Foundry, which is white-red, Stomping Grounds, which is red-green, and Watery Grave, which is blue-black. This is like 3 from one and 2 from another of the allied or the enemy shocks, which is strange, but I guess that means that they'll be placing them in another set. We talked about this a little bit on our Discord. My tinfoil hat is that Avatar is going to get them because if you think about some of the other ones, it's like the Temple Garden, like they're all named very like Avatar-y things, steam vents as well. Like there's all of these very elemental or temple themed names in the other Shocklands that aren't here. So my guess is Avatar is going to have Shocklands as well, which also will sell the set.
I'm with you on that. I 100% agree that theory.
Yeah, big fan of Shocklands being reprinted in a meaningful way because we had them in Ravnica Remastered, right? That was the last time they were reprinted.
Yes, Ravnica Remastered, yes.
Which again, remastered sets were more expensive. It's just not a meaningful way to get them in a standard set with a regularly priced booster. That is the way to bring down the price of shocks. So very excited about that.
And I think with talking about some cool cards outside of the set mechanic ones, I think it's time to start diving into our little nitty gritty picks that we want to talk about. Joseph,
round?
Please ask me to talk about a card that I want to talk about in this set. Please tell me, ask me.
John.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about a lightning round card?
I would love to.
Okay. It's
Thrumming Hive Pool.
It's the
Thrumming Hive Pool.
Of course it is.
Yes. Slivers.
We did it, boys. Mentioned. John's neurons activated.
6 generic mana for an artifact. Affinity for Slivers. Slivers have double strike and haste, and at your upkeep, make 2 colorless Sliver creature tokens. We got there.
I can't believe that we've seen the day. This also, like, for all intents and purposes, this costs 0 mana. Nobody will ever be paying 6 for this. The fact that this can come down for entirely free and just give all of your Slivers double strike and haste.
Now, okay.
God.
I'm obviously being very, very facetious because you all know that I'm a huge Sliver enjoyer. But to take, the 1,000-yard look at this thing, technically, this is actually really bad synergy with Slivers are concerned. Because you're talking about it like
cascade into it.
At least, not like super well. You can't cascade into this really well off of something like the first Sliver. This card also itself doesn't trigger cascade off of the first Sliver. It's not tutorable either with something like the Sliver Overlord, which is on the special guests for this set, by the way, if you want to see that here. Big excited about that. But you can't tutor this out either. And the card itself is it's not a Sliver directly in any capacity as well, so it also doesn't synergize with anything like Hive Lord or Legion. It makes Sliver tokens, but at your upkeep. So technically speaking, 6 mana do nothing unless you've already got a board down, in which case this is a win more kind of card. So, I love it. I do absolutely love this, and it is going to be going into the Sliver deck, but technically speaking, it's not incredible.
I mean, I'll tell you what they're seeding for. They're either seeding for Slivers in Standard, or we know we're going back to Lorwyn. That's Changelings. They're setting up for Slivers to be on Lorwyn.
There was Changelings in Bloomburrow as well, wasn't there?
There was also Changelings in Bloomburrow. Sorry, what I'm saying is when I say seeding, it's they're planting this card going forward. I would not expect to see any other Slivers in this set other than just
I don't think so.
I don't think that they would just shock drop Slivers back into Standard with us. But it's cool that we're getting Slivers and Eldrazi in a set together for your Sliv-Drazi monstrosity enjoyers.
Yes.
It's a really sick card. Obviously you'll be picking this up for your Sliver deck.
Yup.
Also, new Sliver token that looks really good.
Yes. Big fan
Bathing
of that.
in goop.
What do you like, Joseph? Talk to me a card.
Okay. Let's talk about Ouroboros. This is a green mythic.
Okay.
I love Ouroboros just as a entity. So any type of like Ouroboros mentioned is good by me, but this one's particularly strong. It's the most Hydra, non-Hydra I've ever seen. So it's 2 green and green for a 1/3 plant worm. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is this creature's power.
Pretty cool.
My God. So this comes in on 4 as a 1/3 and immediately turns itself into a 2/4 and puts a +1/+1 counter on everything on your board. And then if you get to untap with this, where it then puts an extra 2 +1/+1 counters on everything, and that's disregarding any other pump spells you have, any other +1/+1 counters that you've moved onto it before this. It feels like Genova, which we just got in Final Fantasy, which puts a +1/+1 counter, or one creature gets counters equal to Genova's power. But this Ouroboros is just crazy to pump your entire team. It also, like, the thing I want to hone in on here is that it's a beginning of combat trigger. Which, speaking of Final Fantasy, we saw with like Arden the Usurper being a particularly powerful trigger, where like you have exactly 1 second to respond to this before it does its thing. If you play this on your first main phase and then you pass, your opponents then have that moment to respond to like kill it before it immediately does its effect at the beginning of combat. So I like that this is an immediate payoff, unlike the Sliver thing, which is like on your upkeep, it does something, outside of the double strike and haste. So I particularly like Ouroboros. I like plants. I like worms. I like Ouroboros. This is really speaking to me.
I want to take a card like this. I want to pair it with Avenger of Zendikar for some reason, like because being a plant is like you landfall, you throw counters onto this, and then at your combat, it's you know what I mean.
This is like a spiritual successor to Avenger of Zendikar for sure, particularly being a plant. All right, you got the next one.
We got to bring in our boy Tezzeret. We had mentioned we were going to talk about him a few weeks ago, and this is now that time.
Exclusively colorless cards.
Woo! I'm talking about my favorites. I get Slivers, I get Tezzeret, and I get Space. It's everything I wanted in a Magic set.
For John.
Yeah.
If you weren't hyped about this set before, you are now.
So here's Tezzeret. He's a new colorless planeswalker, by the way. Super cool. It's the first time we've seen a colorless planeswalker outside of Karn and Ugin, so that's really neat. Yeah. Tezzeret Cruel Captain is 3 generic mana for a legendary planeswalker Tezzeret. Comes in at 4 loyalty counters. Static ability of whenever an artifact you control enters, put a loyalty counter on Tezzeret. Hey, do you see token written on there at all? Nope.
Landers.
Landers, treasures, maps, clues, food, anything. Great. Yep. 0 activated ability. Untap target artifact or creature. If it's an artifact creature, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Neat. -3, search your library for an artifact card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put into your hand, and then shuffle. Very fun that is. And then -7, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target artifact you control. If it's not a creature, it becomes a 0/0 robot artifact creature token.
There's that beginning of combat trigger again.
Yes, sir.
That's easy to hit, too. Comes in on 3, gets a loyalty counter for every artifact that enters after this. This very reasonably could ultimate on turn 4.
Yeah, this could go super fast, right? I'm imagining this with like Tezzeret down for 3. Again, generic as well. So like he doesn't care what colors you've thrown into this here or what kind of build you've got this in. You got like turbo red. You're doing like a red and a ritual and then get him down. Then your Lotus Petals and your Chrome Moxes and your Mox Jaspers and whatever. Sure. Just like artifact. And then he goes and tutors another one for you as well. So like a 1-drop, he'll go get your Voltaic Keys and your Soul Rings and whatever you need him to.
Are you going to talk about the Displacer Kitten combo with this? Oh, bro,
I'm
this
I'm,
with
blank.
this
I'm blanking
with
on that.
display. Oh, which like, okay, yeah, sure, we broke Displacer Kitten. Like, if you play
Way.
this and then play Displacer Kitten and then go and tutor a zero like a Lotus Petal, you could play that Lotus Petal. It'll flicker Tezzeret, and then that then gets every non-creature artifact that costs 1 or less in your deck into play immediately. Isn't that insane?
That's super
Like,
cool.
because you just continue to tutor something, play it, flicker Tezzeret, tutor something, play it, flicker Tezzeret, tutor something, play it, flicker Tezzeret. Like, that's 2 really good cards anyway, and you just get to go absolutely bananas with the 2 of them. So that seems like the most obvious way to break Tezzeret, but like, again, what doesn't Displacer Kitten combo with? This just feels like a particularly powerful version of the Displacer Kitten combo.
I just love the fact that just like, we've got Planeswalkers we've had over the almost 20 something odd years that Planeswalkers have been cards, and of a variety of characters. Some of them have been pretty good here or there. They've had highs and lows as far as their Planeswalkers are concerned. I don't think there's a single bad Tezzeret, honestly.
No, there's really not.
Every
they're very
Tezzeret.
niche. Like there's specific cases for some of them. Like the one that makes your like activated abilities cheaper is like fine, but it's really good in the decks that want it.
Right.
Yeah, you could just make a deck of all Tezzerets and it's good.
Yep, you're playing artifacts, you're playing blue-black,
Yeah.
you just play all of these friends, and they
Tezzeret
synergize.
Master of the Bridge. That's such a good
yes.
one. I
love that one.
Master of the Bridge.
Just
Bridge
Tezzeret's one of my favorite characters within the canon of Magic as a whole. So just like having him here in probably his most busted form ever just makes me super happy. I'm glad he's here.
And this slots into like guys sitting on a throne tribal.
Yeah.
So like it fits your like Tassiger deck can play.
him and Ob Nixilis can have like an arm wrestling match in their
like
chairs.
A throne off. I like it. I like it.
You got another cool one?
Yeah, this is well, there's 2. We've got time for like one more each. So I'm kind of picking between the 2 of what's the most. You know what? This is the more fun one to talk about. Let's talk about Mutinous Massacre. This is a 7 mana sorcery. This is, the joke about you is your like 4 to 5 mana artifacts and enchantments that do nothing. For me, it's like 7 mana sorceries. So it's 3 black, red for a sorcery. Choose odd or even. Destroy each creature with mana value of the chosen quality, then gain control of all creatures until end of turn. Untap them, they gain haste until end of turn. This is just a game ender.
I like this.
Yeah, it feels a lot like the whatever the ultimatum is in
Ruinous Ultimatum?
Ruinous Ultimatum. It feels a lot like that, except you just get to win the game on the spot. Rather than like, I board ripped everybody and now I'm stuck with what I've got. You can just go like, okay, assess what the worst mana value of the 2 is so that you destroy more of the bad things and then gain control of everything else. And then they have haste, so you can just like attack out with them. So this will obviously end games.
This is closer to Insurrection than it is like Ruinous Ultimatum.
Yeah, it's Insurrection plus whatever that 4 mana sorcery was that you choose odd or even and exile that quality.
Extinction Event.
Yeah, how do you do this every time? I'm like, hey, this one random thing, and you're like, yeah, it's Extinction Event. Yeah, it feels like that combined with Insurrection, which is cheaper than the 2 of them combined, so it's a good rate for it.
Value.
Yep, big fan. Also, if you're just playing like I'm going to do this again. It's the companion that you have to have only odd.
Obosh the Prey Piercer.
Yep. If you're playing like Obosh, this is obviously a slot in because it's a one-sided board wipe plus gain control of everything. And it's odd. It costs 7, so you can play it in there. They obviously did that for a reason.
Love that. That's so cool.
Yes.
We haven't talked a legendary creature yet. I'd like to bring up the best in the set.
Is it Regast?
Regast!
Yeah. You're telling me a shrimp fried this rice?
Regast Deft Gastronaut is red-white for a 2/2 legendary lobster citizen. Artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types. With the 2 tap sack, you gain 3 life. He has a 1 tap and sacrifice a food ability to deal 3 damage to each opponent. And at the beginning of each end step, if you've gained life, untap him.
Yes, you just keep tossing some food away. He's so funny, man. Like, not only do I think it's actually a good card, like anything that can turn your artifacts into another type is already strong to begin with, because then there's food synergies. I obviously am going to throw this directly and swiftly into my Rocco Street Chef deck that just makes a bananas amount of food. And that becomes like 2 mana, sacrifice one of them, gain 3 life, and then untap him and tap him and sacrifice a food and deal 3 damage to each opponent. Like, it's very strong there.
Yeah.
But also,
literally,
guy.
all you literally need is to give him lifelink, and his own flinging food abilities will untap himself every turn.
Dang, you right.
Basilisk Collar, done. Easy.
Super, super easy. It's also nice that it's to each opponent. That's strong. Like, it's just, I'm going to keep... So if you have a way to untap him and you have enough artifacts, like even this with like Ichor Wellspring is really good, of like just drawing you a card, dealing 3 damage to everybody. That's an engine in and of itself. And he's a lobster citizen. That's dope.
He's great.
He's so funny. It reminds me a bit of like Kibo. Just
a little bit.
Making, dealing damage and artifacts and things. I don't know. Spiritually, it feels like Kibo a little bit.
I think closer to Bryon Stout Arm. There's another red-white who flings artifacts.
Yes, true.
Grinds me of that, but good.
Super good. I mean, he's a sack outlet. He's an untap thing. There's a lot of value. Even if you dodge the food thing, like if you have something that you want to tap him for and it gains life, it just untaps himself every turn. There's corner cases for things like that. But yeah, love the lobster.
You got one more to round us out?
I do have one more to round us out. Thanks for giving me the chance here. Now all of my toiling was not in vain. This is a very strong card. This is Cosmic Grand Zenith. This is another mythic from the set. It's a white card. So it's 2 and a white for a human soldier. That's a 2/4. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, choose one. Make 2 1/1 white human soldiers, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. What have we seen recently that has Flurry on it that makes tokens? Is it a card that recently was too strong for standard? Granted, Corey Steelcutter gave haste and trample and prowess on the creatures, so it was a lot stronger than this is. But oh my god, Cosmic Grand Zenith is absolutely awesome. This is what a mythic should be. This is...
I don't know, like... Standard has had Monastery Mentor since March of the Machine, and I don't think that has seen play at all.
Monastery Mentor, this is not, I would say. The fact that it makes 2 soldiers, as well as it's a 2/4, so Monastery Mentor dies to cut down, and this does not die to cut down. That's a really important distinction for Standard.
Standard's about to lose cut down, though, so...
Oh, that's so nice. Good riddance. I hate that card.
I don't know. When I saw this, the first thing I thought of was Monastery Mentor, in the sense of like, okay, Mentor makes you the 1/1 each time you cast a non-creature spell. So where are you at if you've done 2 non-creature spells in a turn? Well, you're at your second spell and you've made 2 1/1s. That's identical to what this is all about. Mentor continues to make tokens past this point though as well. This is only going to have 1 if it's 2 separate triggers each go. Like, I don't know. I would play Monastery Mentor over this, personally. I think this card is not incredible.
I think they just go in different decks. Like, Monastery Mentor, you have to build around to have it be a non-creature deck. I think that's what makes it a little less strong. Whereas Cosmic Grand Zenith, you can just play other creatures with it.
Creature spells. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, like, your second spell can be a non-creature. Or, sorry, it can be a creature, and you still make the 2 tokens on top of it. So, maybe it reminds me a bit of, like, Adeline Resplendent Cathar, like just making all of these tokens every turn, but then it also just happens to throw +1/+1 counters.
Definitely goes well with Adeline.
I was going to say, because it throws +1/+1 counters on your entire team when you get to that point. So I think what I like about Cosmic Grand is that it's better in the late game than Monastery Mentor is. Like, this is a way better top deck on turn 6 or turn 7 than Monastery Mentor is, because you play this.
But Mentor and the tokens all have prowess. So all you need is just like 1 quick burst of non-creature spells off of your board, and they're just as big as this thing would make them anyway.
That's fair. I mean, maybe we just play both. Like, I don't think we need to be fighting over this. I think
No,
these
I
are
don't.
both
Yeah,
we're talking about two really strong cards here.
fair. Sure.
I like Cosmic Grand Zenith a lot. I've been talking a lot about this humans deck that I've been working on. I think at the time of that this comes out, the deck tech for my Volo deck is going to be out as well.
Yes.
And this is a great soldier. There's already some soldiers in the deck, but I definitely am going to cut one of those for this one because it goes wide with tokens that receive the buff from the other humans. So I'm a big fan of this. I would expect this to be in the $5 to $10 range, just similarly to Monastery Mentor, where it's like one creature, it's a board in a box, it goes wide, it finishes the game on its own.
Cool. Excellent.
Big fan. Does that take us to the end of the episode, John?
I think this brings us here to the end of the hype episode. Let us know down below what you're most excited for of this set. Are we actually looking forward to the outer space world? You know, I remember when this set was originally pitched at like about last year or so that like the idea of space magic kind of was either hit or miss with people. You know, people were either like me, really, really stoked for this, or they think this is one of the most immersion breaking things that we're going to get all year outside of Universes
certainly
Beyond.
is not. Obviously, I think that part of what Universes Beyond has done is it sort of has desensitized, like they can break out of the traditional fantasy mold that Magic has existed in for the last 35 years. And they can go like, okay, we have the freedom to do an in-universe space set if we're going to be doing a Universes Beyond Spider-Man set later in the year. The thing that I was going to say that I'm excited about for Edge of Eternities, but also like it's taking me a minute to process. And I brought this up earlier in a different way, but this is our last in-universe set for the year.
Yeah.
The rest of the year is Spider-Man and Avatar. So like this is the last Magic IP before 2026, which is tough to deal with. Yeah, I'm stoked for Edge of Eternities. I'm really looking forward to it. It looks to be a fun limited set as well, which is something that I play a ton of. So looking forward to it a lot.
Yeah, potentially slower depending on how well the spacecraft thing works. You know what I mean? Like everybody's going to be everybody's going to be tapping their creatures to crew up their big battleships and then just immediately have it like abraded or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, similar to like vehicles and Aether Drift, like they just didn't really get played.
Yeah.
That was just like your vehicles were kind of the worst cards in the pack for that. I expect Spacecrafts to be pretty similar to that, to be honest. But yeah, like you said, let us know in the comments down below if you're excited for this. If you're not excited for this, what are you looking forward to about the set? You can also reach out to us on our Discord if you want to join that, linked down below. You can also reach out to us on Blue Sky. That's our social media of choice. We have an official page that's linked here that's at MTG Thoughtcast. And then we have our individual pages, Joseph-Thoughtcast and John-Thoughtcast. Once again, shout out to sponsors of the show, Heavy Play. If you want 10% off your order of the best gaming accessories with the most magnets for sure, that's look at John. Look at him flipping that thing upside down. Those magnets aren't going anywhere. That's the playmat tube. That's the deck box. That's the dice box. We love them. 10% off your order, MTG Thoughtcast at checkout or heavyplay.com/MTG Thoughtcast. If I haven't said it enough, this has been the MTG Thoughtcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week, Mondays as always. We'll see you.